Hey there, math fans. Going to talk about graphs and multi-part functions. So this is mostly about being able to label the height. I talked about that a lot in class, or in other words, finding the equations for these. So I talked about how whatever the question says, we should definitely read it. This is from one of my old exams. Again, you can find the problems I'm using in the little packet I sent you, and you can find many more by looking at the exam archive. But you need the equation for this horizontal line, which is y equals 5. And when we say this is every point on here is y equals 5, it means this is 5. We also need to find the equation for this line. So if you didn't realize that that was your job in these problems, to find the equations for the lines. And this is 18, 0. And so if I wanted that height, I'm going to find the equation for that line. So I'm going to do m is equal to 5 minus 0 over 8 minus 18, 5 over negative 10, negative a half. Okay, so let's lay this out. So as scary as the problem looks, the first step is really just saying, find the equations for the heights. So what is the height? Well, it's 5. If x is between 0 and 8. So if you draw anywhere in here, it's 5, 5, 5. When you go past, the formula changes. It's going to be whatever the equation of that line is for the height. And we just found out that the slope is negative a half. And it goes to the point 18, 0. And that's if x is between 8 and 18. And you can test it out. I would plug in an 8 and make sure I get 5. I would plug in an 18 and make sure I get 0. That's it. So if you didn't realize that, the height is the function. It is the equation for the curve. That's what it means. Okay, find a formula for the area. Well, the area of the first part, let's just write that here, is whatever x is times whatever the height is, which we know the height is 5. So the pattern for the area is 5x. And that's if 0 is less than x is less than 8. Finally, this one. And I find students would do this in a number of different ways, but I think I would find the area of this whole thing and then subtract off this triangle, because I think I can quickly label this triangle. So what's the whole thing? It's 5 by 8, so it's 40, plus 10 plus 1/2 of 10 times 5. 10, 5. Okay, that's good. So that's 65. So 65 is what I'm going to write, minus, and I'm going to figure out the area of this little piece. Let me see if I can label it. I already know how to label this. It's this formula right here. So I just need to know what this length is. And that's not so bad. That's 18 minus x. So your final answer here is going to be 1/2 the height, which is negative 1/2 x minus 18 times 18 minus x. And that's if we're between 8 and 18. We could simplify that. I just wanted to do those pieces. So I'm going to stay focused there rather than solve anything else. But the point I wanted to make is, as much as that problem seems complicated, your real job was to find the equation for this horizontal line and the equation for this line. Once you do that, you actually have all the pieces. Yes, you might need some practice putting them together. Okay, let's do a couple other things. So let's do a mechanical problem. The question says, solve when this function equals 11. So if you don't have a picture, then you have two jobs to do. You have to figure out, when is this 11 and when is that 11. So you have two possibilities. One is this. So the one part we saw about multi-part functions is if they give you the output, you have to split up your work. And then you have this added job at the end, which is to check that it works. So anyways, I'd put an 11 here, I'd subtract 2. That makes this 9. I'd get x is plus or minus 3. Are either of those bigger than or equal to 2? Yes, only the plus is. Okay, this one let's solve. We want this to be 11. We add. We get x is 6. Is 6 smaller than 2? No. This is the only solution. And you can go back and see. Okay, that's that idea. All right, let's do another area question. These are fairly quick. So the question says, we're going to do a cut x centimeters from the left edge. What's the area? So this one's going straight to the area. So let's just see if we can do that. So if we call this x, this is going to be 3, and the area is going to be 3x. So let's see if we can do that. The area is equal to 3x, and that's if x is less than 4. We're already on our way. So now let's erase that and talk about what happens if we're here. I know this is challenging for students, but it's mostly labeling. Very important skill, so please come ask about it. That was the point. I'd really like to know what this height is. So we're going to follow the same routine as before. Let's find the equation of that line. That's not the only way, but the equation of that line. So it goes through 4, 3, it goes through 10, 9. So I'm going to find the equation of that line so I can label this height. The slope is 9 minus 3 over 10 minus 4. 6 over slope is 1. So we get y equals 1 times x minus 4 plus 3. Y is equal to x minus 1. Let's do a quick double check. When I plug in a 4, I get a 3. When I plug in a 10, I get a 9. Great. So now I can label this. So at this moment, the reason for doing that was now if someone hands me an x that's somewhere over here, then I can label this height x minus 1. And at that moment, then I can start to try to figure out what the area is. So based off of those measurements, I don't know what I would do here. Maybe the area of this is 12, plus I'm going to do the area of this trapezoid. If you want to put on your note sheet, because you use it on the homework, the area of a trapezoid goes like this. It's 1/2 the base, and then you add the heights. So anyways, at this point I have enough to type it all in. So it's 12, the area of all this, plus the area of this trapezoid. There's a couple little spots where people could go wrong, but the base is x, so plus 1/2 x. The first height is 3, the second height is x minus 1. Done. So I think people make these into bigger things. That is a skill. You have to be able to label, but they're actually not very long problems. Let's look at another one. Give the area for this. Okay, so now you know the strategy. The equation for this line, if we make the corner the origin, is y equals 8. The equation for this line, well, this line goes through 0, 6. And what can we say? This must go up 2 over 4. Had to do some reasoning. This has to be 4 because this is 12 and that's 8. Okay. So step 1, we would find the equation for that line. We already have the equation for this line. Let's find the equation for the other line. 6 minus 2 over 0 minus 4. It's going to be negative 1. So y equals negative x plus 6. Now I have the ability to label. So if this is x, then this is 6 minus x, or negative x plus 6. So let's find that area. Let's scroll this up a little bit. So area equals, and you could even lay it out. It's going to be 1/2 the trapezoid, base, which is what I'm calling x, that length. Height 1 is 6. Height 2 is this negative x plus 6. Done. That's going to work for x between 0 and 4. Let's do it again. What happens if you go beyond there? Well, then we're going to add on. So think at this moment, I feel like I would like to know this area altogether, which is what we get when we plug in 4 to that formula. So what's that going to be? 1/2 4, 6 minus 4 plus 6. So 2 times 8, 32. I might double check it. 8 times 4. 8 times 4 over 2, so it should be 16. Let me see what I did wrong here. Oh, that's 16. Okay, so I'm going to say 16 plus the area of this rectangle. Now the challenge here that people probably got wrong was from here to here is what we're calling x. I know this is 8. So the question is, what is this? Ooh, can we figure that out? I think we can, because we actually know this is 4. So that's x minus 4. So the area is 8 times x minus 4, and that's for 4 less than x less than 12. Okay, then I found one more exam question that was asking you to work and graph with this and then find when it's equal to x. Maybe I'll leave that as a challenge to see if you can do it. But it's fairly quick. I'd be happy to answer about it. Mostly I suspected that students were confused by the area question, so there's 3 more for you to think about.